So, for my first case for today, this week, episode 27, I'm going to be talking about Donna Cross I. Donna Janine Cross I. This case is coming out of Washington County, Missouri. And it's really sad. So I first learned of it when A.R. Hayes, an ex-convict's thoughts. Sorry, it's got a botching his name. An ex-convict's thoughts on YouTube and Facebook too. He posted a community post saying that a dear friend of his had gone missing and was asking for help from the community. He had a relationship with her because she joined like a group on Facebook that was all to do with true crime, and they had connected and talked, and she was special to him. Yeah. And she had gone missing after being in a hospital, and it was Washington County Memorial Hospital in the ER, and she was out of sorts. And dropped off in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. Strange. Well, there's been quite a bit of things that have happened since then, including an arrest, but not really he hasn't been charged with anything relating to her death because she was found deceased in the woods, which is really, really unfortunate. So the investigative team, the Mineral Area Major Case Squad, released a timeline of events in this case because they felt like there was a lot of mixed information going around, and there has been.
Well, that's courteous. That's nice. I like that, keeping the public,
up to date on the timeline of events. Yes, I think that's great. Normally you see media doing that on their own. But they actually released this to get the facts straight, basically, which is good. And I know because there is a sheriff deputy Lawson, who is a female sheriff deputy, is the one that picked her up and dropped her off. They are being investigated by a third party now due to Donna's family really going for that because they were informed that should be happening. So that's now happening, which is good. But let's get into the details of the case and figure out what is going on here, kind of talk about it because it's odd. So we have on January 8th of this year, 2024, Donna Cross is having some issues. Okay. She's got a major headache. She has incontinence. She's urinating on herself. She has no control. And she's literally crawling on the floor in pain. She calls her son and her daughter-in-law, who she lives with, and lets them know what's going on, but they're at work. And apparently she has it's kind of sound like, I don't know, kind of like she had a hospital bag that she took with her, but I'm not 100% sure. It seems that way. But so she calls the 911, and what's going on with her was some kind of issues with fluid buildup on her brain because she had a surgery a few months ago that I guess she had some kind of brain surgery, maybe a shunt put in her brain because she had previous issues with fluid buildup. And then she had another issue around Christmas time where they had to drain fluid off her brain. And now this is happening again, it seems. There's some kind of malfunction of the shunt that was implanted in her head. So obviously that's an awful situation to be in. So she calls 911 and she leaves her phone at home. Her phone, because I'm guessing whatever's going on with her, she was having issues operating her phone. It sounds like her son had to take her phone, it's an iPhone, had to take it to the Apple store many times because she would enter the password wrong so many times it would permanently lock.
Yep. That's an iPhone for you.
Yeah, but I think it's cognitive issues from her brain issues.
Using it as an example to prove, you know, she was having some issues there thinking.
Yeah.
Which how could you not with fluid gathering on your brain like that? I'm sure that increases pressure and causes headaches and instabilities and all kinds of stuff. That sounds horrible.
Yeah. And by the way, I wanted to say Donna is 44 years old and she is a mother, a grandmother, you know, she's got little grandbabies and she was, you know, she was going through a hard time. She had mental health issues because of things going on with her brain. She's also a recovering addict, taking Suboxone, but doing well. She was not in relapse from what her family has said. She was doing well with that, just dealing with the mental health issues and the brain impairment issues from whatever was going on, which I don't know what her diagnosis is or anything like that. I just know about the fluid buildup and the shunt. And a lot of this information comes from Fox News 2, which has been covering this since like a week after she went missing, and also A.R. Hayes. He sent me some documents, and also Jules of All Trades did a good job. So I just wanted to give them a shout out real quick. But anyway, so she calls 911. She goes to the hospital. Her phone stays at home. And while she's in the hospital, we don't know what they did. They're not even telling the family what they did while she was in the hospital. As far as I know right now, they have no idea what they did for her in the hospital. If they even did scans or anything like that, we don't know.
She didn't have somebody on her medical documents.
Well,
what's
she
that called?
did. She had an emergency contact on her documents because she left her phone at home. And apparently the nurse gave her her son's phone number and she called him that evening, which I believe was around 7:30 p.m. And he said that she was irritated on the phone and her head hurt. That's why she was irritated, which of course, like,
how could you not be?
I get migraines and I can't even imagine what a migraine is when you're having brain issues. So I'm sure that she was super irritable. It's so painful. I can't imagine what she was going through. But anyway, he talks to her. He says that overall, it seems like she's doing okay. She's just really irritable and her head hurts. But there was no indicators that she was going to be released that night. She never said, hey, I think they're going to release me. Can you come pick me up, you know, a little bit later or whatever? Nothing. And they get off the phone. He thought that she was going to be staying overnight.
Okay.
That was their impression because of the major issues she's having.
Sure.
Dude, if you have fluid buildup on your brain and you're like disoriented and you have a major migraine and you're losing control of your faculties, I feel like that is totally an overnight stay. They need to be able to keep an eye on you and observe you. She has been to this hospital before. They have treated her before. They have her medical history and they have her emergency contacts. They gave her her son's phone number to call on the hospital phone. So she is released a little bit later. And again, this is at the Washington County Memorial Hospital Emergency Department. She's released. I don't know what time. Okay, 5:51 actually is when she is discharged by the staff there. And she walks into the lobby waiting room area and just sits there and hangs out. Apparently, she sat there calmly, patiently, and wasn't like being disruptive at all. And then it says a Potosi municipal police officer present at the hospital for an unrelated call for service is contacted by the hospital staff where they requested Donna I be given a ride home.
Okay.
So then he talks to Donna apparently, and he's concerned about her well-being and requests her to be assessed by the emergency department staff. So this is Donna. She is contacted again by emergency department staff with regards to where she lives, and no medical evaluation is completed at that time. So the police officer is concerned and asks them at the ER, can you evaluate her? Because I'm concerned about her well-being. This officer that is there for something totally different.
Okay.
And this is released by the police officer, this squad, whatever. What did I call it? Mineral Area Major Squad.
I was curious how we got that information, because it sounds
that's what it says.
No, I know, but it's because it sounds like they're trying to not release anything on the basis of HIPAA, which you mentioned that she had an emergency contact. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that emergency contact is allowed to have access to her medical records.
Correct.
So I just hope she has someone that has access to her medical records, like HIPAA laws, medical records.
I always, and I suggest you guys do this too, unless there's nobody you can trust. But I always at least allow one person that I really wholly trust have access to my medical records, just in case.
Yeah, just in case something were to happen.
Yes, so that they don't have trouble accessing it if something were to happen. I suggest anybody and everybody do that, but it has to be somebody you really, really, really trust. Really trust.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he asked them to assess her. The staff from the emergency room talked to her and ask her where she lives. Do not do another evaluation. And then the officers provided with Donna's brother's address, not her address where she lives with her son and daughter-in-law, but her brother's address, which is located on the 10,000th block of Shirley School Road. The officer requests a Washington County Sheriff Deputy to transport Donna due to the residence being located outside of city limits of Potosi.
That's
Potosi,
strange.
Missouri. Now, this Potosi, Missouri is a very, very small town, and it is located right by Mark Twain National Forest.
Have they given any indication why they gave a different address? Is it due to her medical records?
I'm assuming that's it, and I don't know how out of sorts she was, but it really makes you question if she's that out of sorts, she can't give them her address of her son's house where she actually lives, and she's just sitting in the lobby, kind of lost, and this officer's so concerned, he's like, can you guys evaluate her? Why did they just say, hey, where do you live? Let's get you out of here.
I mean,
that sounds like a failure of the medical staff too.
Do you know how often we see stuff like that? Do
It's
you know
horrible.
about that one of the downtown hospitals? I forget what city it's in, but they were caught on camera after seeing homeless people or low income people, and then they would put them in a wheelchair, wheel them down the block across the street from the hospital, and drop them off. And some of these people couldn't walk. They were being wheeled in a wheelchair.
Gosh.
Right.
So Potosi is, the population is 2,500 we'll just say 2.56K. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a really small town. And my experience in a really small town in Missouri, when I went to an ER there, you guys, this is just my experience in a tiny town in Missouri when I had to go to the ER there. It was horrible. It was one of the worst ERs I've ever been to. There was blood, exposed needles on the ground.
What?
The bedside manner was awful. I don't know what this hospital is normally like, but this sounds negligent. Especially considering her medical history and the condition she was in when she arrived and when they discharged her, it didn't take them very long to discharge her at all. So discharged at 5:51, she arrived at 3:25. That's only 2 hours. Normally, I mean, to do a scan of her brain, to do like any procedures at all, like, and normally emergency departments they're busy normally. Not maybe it's downtime, but around this time, usually emergency departments are pretty busy. And I know this is a small town, but I don't know. It seems odd for considering her condition to discharge her within 2 hours.
Yeah, it does seem odd.
It like really that doesn't seem right. So anyway, they give her brother's address, okay? The officer calls the sheriff's department, gets a deputy out, Deputy Lawson, and gives them the address and asks the deputy to give her a ride. So the deputy arrives at the hospital and escorts her to the patrol car, and they leave at 11:40 p.m. Then the deputy conveys to what? The deputy conveys I to the 10,000th block of Shirley School Road. I request to be dropped off at a Forest Service Road 2375 at the intersection of Shirley School Road. And I have a map we're going to insert here to show you where that's at and where her brother's residence is located. It's from what I've seen and remembering off the top of my head, because I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now. Maybe I should. It is. Wait, yeah, I had it in my notes. It's like 1.5 miles away from her brother's residence.
Gosh, that sounds like an awful situation.
So, look, this is you see this little line in the trees? That's a service road.
Okay.
And this is where her brother lives. And it's like 1.5 miles away. And this is in Mark Twain National Forest. And there are no lights and it's pitch black. It's pitch black. And she is super scared of the dark from what her daughter-in-law said. She's a 44-year-old woman who's so scared of the dark, she sleeps with lights on.
Yeah, that's a wild situation. Very.
Also, you guys, this is a service road, meaning citizens aren't really supposed to be on this road. And you would think that a sheriff deputy would know that. The sheriff deputy said that that Donna thought this was her driveway. Okay, you just picked somebody up from the ER, and I'm assuming the officer told you she's disoriented. Why would you listen to her and drop her off on a service road thinking it's her driveway?
Oh, gosh. So the same cop that drove her is the cop that asked them to...
No.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Unless there's more details around the cop, I don't know if I think I said this the other day too. I don't know if I feel confident pointing fingers at the cop. If, in my opinion, this sounds like a healthcare mistake, not necessarily a cop mistake, especially if that cop never saw anything weird from her. You got to remember, she's an adult woman. Okay. Imagine being a cop and being like, even though you're an adult, I'm sorry, but I just don't feel comfortable letting you out here. My next question would be like, excuse me? Are you holding me? Are you detaining me? You know what I mean? I just don't see a cop.
I disagree with you. I think that the cop should have used their judgment and been like, wait, this is a service road. Are you sure that this is your driveway? Let me make sure I take you all the way up the driveway so I can make sure your home's safe.
I mean,
where you can go in the home. It's cold outside. I don't want to leave you somewhere where you can get lost. You just got out of the hospital. Like, let me make sure I'm taking you to your address. Like, I would never drop a woman off who just got me as a normal citizen. I would never drop a woman off in the middle of a forest in the pitch black who just got out of the hospital and not ask questions and make sure be like, I want to make sure you're getting home. I don't want you walking out here. This is not a good place to be walking where it's cold outside. She didn't even have a proper coat on.
I see your point. And
this is a police officer, a sheriff.
I see your point. I want to clarify, though, that there's a big difference between that, what you're explaining, which is a perfect situation, and what I would hope a cop would do in a perfect world. But I'm looking for a lower standard of problem here. So I'm looking for, did the cop do anything wrong? Not perfect doesn't mean that he did something wrong. There is no binary system of right and wrong. It's not all or nothing. So did the cop do something wrong? Everything in life we can do better.
Well, this is being investigated. So I hope that if this sheriff deputy, which I feel like they did something wrong. I feel like she did something wrong here. I don't know if it's illegal. I think both did. I think the hospital and the sheriff deputy both failed her, because then she's missing for over a week and is found dead.
Yeah, I hear you. In situations like this, though, and again, I'm not committing to what I believe or what I don't believe. This is on my very, very small scope of details that I have in this situation.
Imagine this is your mom.
I am.
I would be mad.
I imagine every situation, but the details matter. They absolutely matter. And part of the reason this is important to me is because, like, when we just did a whole week of police corruption videos, this doesn't feel like it's a cop doing something wrong. In order for me to feel like a cop is doing something wrong, they have to be doing the opposite or outside the bounds and expectations of their position and employment. I absolutely think this cop can be considered as failing her and could have done better, like anybody in any situation in the world. But did this cop do something wrong? For me, there's a difference.
Well, for one, it's being investigated. We don't have all the details surrounding it. But yes, I personally feel like something was done wrong, because police should be here to serve the public and ensure citizens' welfare. I would never drop somebody off there unless they were literally freaking out and demanding to get out of the car. And Deputy Lawson did not say that. She said she requested to get out of the car because she said it was her driveway. This woman is terrified of the dark. Why would she think this is her driveway when she's in the middle of a forest and there's no lights?
Yeah, I hear you. I see your point. I do. I just want to suggest the ulterior in this situation. And I think the ulterior is, you have an adult woman, you have a cop, and we're making these assumptions that this
could have been a mistake.
Knew the situation with her. What if the cop didn't know the situation with her? What if this cop assumed that this was an adult female that knew what she was doing and was all there, and this was just another everyday ride? What if this cop didn't know there wasn't a driveway there because this isn't their area of patrol? Like, all these what ifs. I go back to, where did the flaw happen in this story? Because I do think she was failed, and I do think somebody did something wrong here. But my issue is the hospital, because a cop is not an expert at knowing health. I do not expect my police officers that are experts of the law and are here to defend the law, not their law, but our laws. And I don't expect them to be able to define and identify health issues. She has health issues, and she was in a hospital that identifies health issues, and they're the experts on health issues. And that hospital should have handled that situation better. Then all the cops would have known what was going on. But the flaw starts when the hospital didn't manage this person effectively, especially based off of what they had going on.
They didn't not only manage her effectively, they relied on the police to give her a ride home instead of contacting an emergency contact. That is not standard or normal. She wasn't being disruptive. The only time you call a cop to have somebody removed from a hospital is when they are not behaving normally, when they are being disruptive. Normally, if you just discharge this patient, you ask, do you have a ride home? Do I need to contact somebody for you? Like that, this is not normal. She didn't have a phone. She asked for her son's phone number to contact her son. This sheriff just dumped her in the middle of the woods without a phone after getting out of the hospital. Like, it's, to me, yes, the hospital failed hands down. Horrible job. Don't know what's going on there, but it doesn't look good. Now, the officer, the sheriff's deputy specifically, major questions around, and I do personally feel like there's something wrong here. Now, does that mean it was intentional? No, it could be a mistake, but shouldn't we be accountable for our mistakes when it results in somebody's death? Yeah, I think so, especially when you didn't use good judgment. You didn't make good decisions. Like, there should have been red flags there, in my opinion, for you to be like, hey, like, this doesn't seem like a super safe situation. Let me make sure you're getting home okay. I don't see any homes here.
Yeah, I see your point. I just have a difference of opinion.
Okay.
I don't want cops up in my life like that. I would be super offended by that and have a problem with it. So, and I just don't know if that cop knew. We're assuming that the cop knew there were problems there, and maybe that cop didn't.
Also, there's no recording of the call from the Potosi officer to the sheriff deputy because they called on their private phone. Just so you know. So, here we go. I'm trying to get back on track with the timeline. So I request to be dropped up on the service road at the intersection of Shirley School Road. I exits the patrol vehicle and Washington County deputy returns to service at 12:11 a.m. January 9th. Then January 11th, she is reported missing, and apparently her family had no idea anything was even wrong until her brother's friend was riding a four-wheeler in the woods and discovered her hospital bag. And from everything the family has said, it was like a duffel bag, and it had her clothes, makeup, a full pack of cigarettes in it that was untouched, discharge paperwork, medication, and it was right around the area it seemed that she got dropped off. And then ensued a search. You know, she was missing for like a week, and the cops weren't even helping in it at all. So it was like volunteer firefighters. It was citizens out there searching. You know, some of the firefighters said, this is the weirdest search we've ever been a part of because there was no guidance. The police were not guiding this at all. And then the news started coming out and covering it. And then 2 days later, they assigned the mineral area case, major case squad, whatever, task force
so
thing.
That is the first time I feel like I see a flaw, because that is within officer expertise. So my question would be right there. Why was the police not managing this? That's absolutely the first thing that falls under their belt as a police officer that I expect them to be able to manage, control, and direct. So did we ever get any explanation as to why?
Well, this says that January 12th, the Washington County Sheriff's Office, multiple fire departments and multiple canine units coordinated a search. But from what I've been hearing from the family, I don't know if that's true or not. Like, it's kind of confusing because She went missing January 8th, and they're saying by January 12th, so 4 days later, they had a full search. But that's not what the family's been saying, and the family was out there searching, like boots on the ground searching. So I don't know. That's kind of confusing to me. This timeline says that they were out searching January 12th.
Okay.
Trail camera located during search. Footage from camera revealed a green truck in the area near the time frame I was dropped off. It says during the investigation by Washington County detectives, the unregistered green truck and operator were identified and located. He located I's belongings during the early morning hours. Wait. It was located. The operator of the truck was contacted and interviewed. In the interview, the subject informed them he located I's belongings during the early morning hours of January 9th, but did not contact authorities. Subject stated he gave Donna I's belongings to her brother. Weird, but she wasn't reported missing until January 11th. He found her belongings January 9th. 2 days later, she's reported missing.
Yeah, but did he give them to her brother that night, or did he give them
2 days later?
Yeah, once the search began. And was like, oh shoot, I have her belongings. I better.
Well, we don't know who this guy is. We only know he drives a green truck. It says he was released with no charges filed pursuant to the missing persons investigation. Then they continue following leads. January 15th, Sheriff Zach Jacobson requests activation from board of directors. The Mineral Area Major Case Squad is activated. January 17th, a search warrant is executed at a residence in inference to the investigation, resulting in no additional evidence located. A subject was arrested on drug and weapons charges unrelated to Donna I investigation. Not really true. January 17th, citizen discovered I's body east of the initial search area. Autopsy scheduled January 19th, which was Friday, which is today that we're filming this. We don't have results of that yet. So the person who was arrested actually had belongings, a coin purse of Donna's in his home. And he lives next door to where her body was found.
Weird.
So they got that search warrant and they were executing the search warrant. They found guns in his house. They found drugs. Here, I have a picture of him right here. It's David Kleckamp.
That's interesting.
And he had like fake marijuana. He had meth, he had guns, and her coin purse or something like that. There's been multiple trucks spotted on trail cameras and stuff, like a silver truck, a red truck. I believe the red truck was cleared. I don't, but I don't see that in the document here. That's just what I've heard from like the grapevine and stuff. Sure. Because there's many people, citizens out there privately investigating and helping the family and everything. So there's like little trickles of information from all over the place. I do know the family said when they were out searching, there was a couple that said that they hunt down there and they went out there that night and they had a trail camera posted up and on a tree out there. And when they were going to look at it, they saw two people running with flashlights. And then when they went to check their trail camera, the SD card was gone.
Really?
Yeah. And that was like right after she went missing or something like that. Like right after everybody knew, which is kind of weird. And then they made a statement. The police apparently made a statement saying that her body was found pretty close to her belongings, but they had already searched like 10,000 acres and they had already searched around where her bag was found. So there's kind of rumors going around like, did somebody dump her body after they did the search? There's a lot of rumors circulating about this. I don't want to spread things that aren't facts, which is why I really tried to stick to the timeline and what's official. there will be more information coming out constantly. Like I said, she had an autopsy scheduled for today. But this is super, super tragic. Like, another thing is this woman had limited ability to walk because of her condition, which also is strange to me why this sheriff deputy would leave her there when somebody has limited ability to walk, you can see it with your own eyes normally.
Yeah. Like I said, I just want to be careful here.
I understand that.
I want, when police do something wrong, I want to be able to have integrity in myself on what I'm calling out, to be a voice for what is right or wrong with police corruption. So if we're like pointing fingers everywhere without verifying the details, I feel like we could lose our voice in that. And I do see a possibility of this police officer not doing something wrong. We got to remember, this was an adult here. A police officer is not allowed to force themselves into an adult's life. They aren't.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
And her body was actually discovered by a citizen, and this is the map where she was located. So this is her brother's house. This is where she was dropped off, and she was found like right here. Like you can see on that map, right there. So that's where she was dropped off. That's a pretty long way. That's past on that road. That's past her brother's home.
Yep.
It's really, really odd. And it also makes me wonder why, if her brother, I mean, we don't know when he was given that bag, but if he was given that bag that night, like, why didn't he call cops? Like, what was going on behind the scenes, you know? But I see some major red flags here, and this deputy sheriff needs to answer these questions. Like, they need to get, I know it's getting investigated by a third party. I have an article here that says that the Mineral Area Major Case Squad is investigating. The Washington County Sheriff's Office is reviewing the deputy's actions. The sheriff office also plans to have an independent board investigate, including the policy about giving rides to civilians. So they're looking into it. We'll see what comes out of this.
Yeah, what's going to come out of this is they're not going to be allowed to give rides to civilians anymore. I can already tell you. You're not allowed to in California.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. That's not allowed because of stuff like this.
Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, because if you have that person with you, you're partially liable for what happens to them, I'm sure, as a public servant.
I think the public sees it like that, and that's where the disconnect is, because regardless, this is an adult, you guys, unfortunately. Like, I get it, but this is an adult. You can look at it any way you want, but like, we aren't allowed to take adults' rights away. We are not allowed to do that. So if an adult says, look, this is where I need to be dropped off, the officer isn't allowed to force themselves on them.
I know, but the officer was given her brother's address, and also like everything, considering everything going on, like how good a shape did she look like she was in?
That's a very subjective assumption.
It is, but it makes you wonder. And like I said, it needs to be investigated by a third party, which I'm glad that they're having an independent board investigate it. And we need answers.
I don't care about the cop. I care about the hospital. The problem is the hospital. The hospital is the biggest problem. I think that if we target the cop, I don't think the cop did anything wrong when it comes to an adult. I really don't. Not within the bounds of the law. Could a cop have done better? Absolutely. Is it bad enough where they're going to be held accountable? Probably not. We're just going to lose the right for cops to be able to give rides to citizens. So we're going to hurt citizens in this outcome. And then the hospital's going to get let off scot-free. That's my guess on what's going to happen here.
Oh, I think her family is going to file a malpractice suit. I think that's what's going to end up happening, and they might file a lawsuit against the sheriff's office too. We'll see. But I mean, it sounds like somebody could have been involved, like somebody totally just came, like somebody totally separate from the situation came along and did something to her, possibly. But we have to have the results of the autopsy to know that. So, you know, I'm going to stay involved in this case. I'm going to keep looking at it and staying up to date on the information. Condolences to her family. This must be really hard right now. I mean, to think that your mother and mother-in-law, sister, you know, grandmother is in good hands at a hospital, and to know she was just dropped off in the middle of nowhere without any of her family being contacted, like after she had all these issues with her brain, it must feel horrible thinking about her being out there and everything, knowing what happened. It's just got to be really, really hard. They need all the support they can get, and, you know, they need answers. So let me know what you guys think. If you have any information to add to this case, any thoughts or opinions, leave in the comment. Any corrections if I got anything wrong. And yeah, that's pretty much it.